Welcome to Nightmare Fuel Stories. Number the lighthouse keeper's log. I never wanted to be a lighthouse keeper. It was my wife Elaine's dream, not mine. She was the one who romanticized the isolation, the responsibility, the connection to maritime history. I was just a high school history teacher with summers off and a willingness to indulge her fantasies. But now I'm alone at Blackrock Lighthouse, and Elaine is gone. The Coast Guard officially decommissioned Blackrock 5 years ago, replacing its function with automated buoys and GPS systems. But historical preservation grants and Elaine's relentless lobbying kept it operational as a living museum during tourist season. The rest of the year, it needed a keeper. That's how we ended up here each winter, Elaine pursuing her passion while I graded papers and worked on my never-finished book about local maritime disasters. 3 weeks ago, Elaine disappeared. The Coast Guard search found nothing. The police investigation stalled. They all believe she fell from the rocks during one of her morning walks and was taken by the sea. A tragic accident, they said. The case is effectively closed, but I know better. I know what I've seen from this tower. I know what's out there. Day one of solitary watch, the Coast Guard offered to send a replacement keeper, but I refused. I told them I needed time alone with my grief. In reality, I need time to document what's happening here, what Elaine discovered before she vanished. The lighthouse sits on Blackrock Island, a jagged outcropping of stone barely half a mile across at its widest point. It's 3 miles from the mainland, isolated by cold, churning waters that have claimed hundreds of ships over the centuries. The tower itself is 137 feet tall, built in 1853 of granite blocks that have withstood countless storms. The keeper's quarters occupy the bottom 2 floors with the mechanical room, storage, and finally the lantern room stacked above. Tonight, I'm starting this log. I've gathered Elaine's notes, her photographs, the recordings she made. I'll continue where she left off. I owe her that much. The light sweeps across the water every 12 seconds. Flash, darkness, a rhythm that becomes part of your heartbeat after a while. I've checked all systems. Everything is functional. The weather report calls for clear skies, moderate winds, visibility excellent, yet I can see a ship on the horizon, a ship that shouldn't be there. Day 2, I spent the night tracking the vessel through my binoculars. It never moved, maintaining its position due east, approximately 2 miles out. At first light, I called the Coast Guard to report it. There are no vessels registered in that area, the dispatcher said. Are you certain of what you're seeing? I described it. A cargo ship, older model, possibly from the 1970s or 80s. Dark hull, no running lights, no visible name or registration numbers. They promised to send a patrol boat to investigate. 3 hours later, they called back. We've completed a sweep of the coordinates you provided. There's nothing there, Mr. Harmon. I went to the lantern room and looked again. The ship was exactly where it had been, motionless on calm seas. It's right there, I insisted. How can you not see it? They suggested I was experiencing grief-induced hallucinations and recommended I accept their offer to send a replacement keeper. I declined. After the call, I found one of Elaine's journals. The entry from 2 months ago read, "Ship sighted again today, same position. Coast Guard denies its existence. I've started photographing it. I've located her camera." The memory card contains dozens of images of empty ocean where I know the ship should be. But in the last photo, taken 3 days before she disappeared, there's something, a dark smudge on the horizon. Not clearly a ship, but definitely something. The vessel is still there now as night falls. I'll keep watch. Day 3, I dreamed of Elaine last night. She was standing on the rocks below the lighthouse, waving toward the sea. When I called to her, she turned and her face was wrong, distorted as if viewed through water. Her mouth moved, but I couldn't hear her words. I woke at dawn, drenched in sweat despite the cold. The mysterious ship has changed position. It's closer now, perhaps a mile offshore. I can make out more details, rust stains on the hull, empty davits where lifeboats should hang. No crew visible on deck, no flags or markings of any kind. I've searched through maritime registries online, looking for abandoned or derelict vessels reported in the region. Nothing matches. I've gone through historical records of shipwrecks near Blackrock. The closest match is the MV Stellaris, a cargo vessel that sank in 1988 with all hands lost. But that wreck was located and documented on the seabed 20 miles from here. This afternoon, I found more of Elaine's notes. She'd been researching something called ghost ships or phantom vessels. Not the legendary Flying Dutchman type, but a modern phenomenon, ships that appear on radar or satellite imagery but don't exist in official registries. Ships that observers can't agree on seeing, ships that seem to violate physical laws. Her notes mentioned a theory about threshold places where the barrier between our world and somewhere else grows thin. Lighthouses, she wrote, often mark such thresholds. I thought it was just her fascination with maritime folklore. Now I'm not so sure. The ship is still visible as darkness falls. I swear it's closer than it was this morning. Day 4. The weather has turned. A storm moved in overnight, bringing driving rain and winds gusting to 50 knots. The lighthouse shudders with each blast. The sea is a churning mass of white caps and spray. The ship should have sought shelter or moved away from the coast. It hasn't. It remains in position, now approximately half a mile offshore. It rides the massive waves impossibly well, barely moving despite the storm's fury. I've tried calling the Coast Guard again, but the landline is dead and cell service is non-existent in the storm. The satellite internet connection is spotty at best. While searching for candles in case we lose power, I found a locked box under Elaine's side of the bed. I didn't know it existed. The key was taped to the bottom of her jewelry case, another secret. Inside were more journals, more detailed than the ones I'd found before. She'd been seeing the ship for months, not weeks. She documented its gradual approach, and she'd seen others, vessels that matched descriptions of ships lost decades or even centuries ago. They're coming from somewhere else, she wrote. Another time, another reality. The lighthouse is a beacon for them, a fixed point they can navigate by across whatever divides our world from theirs, and they want something from us. The last entry, dated the day before she disappeared. I've made contact. They've been signaling me for weeks, and I finally understand. I need to go to the rocks at dawn tomorrow. They're going to show me what's on the other side. I've spent the afternoon searching for any sign of communication, signal lamps, radio transmissions, anything. Nothing, but when I look at the ship through the binoculars now, I can see a figure on the deck. A solitary silhouette standing at the rail, facing the lighthouse. The storm is worsening. The power is flickering. I need to keep the light running. Day 5, the storm passed in the night, but the power went with it. I spent hours manually operating the light, cranking the old backup mechanism that hasn't been used in decades. My arms ache, but I couldn't let the light go out. Not with that ship so close. At first light, I saw it had moved again. It's now in the small natural harbor on the east side of the island, less than a quarter-mile from shore. I can see it clearly from the lantern room without binoculars. It's in worse condition than I initially thought. The hull is severely rusted, with holes visible at the waterline. The superstructure is damaged, with twisted metal and broken windows. It should not be able to float, yet there it is. And there are people on board now. At least they look like people from this distance. Dark figures moving around the deck. Occasionally one stands at the rail and seems to look directly at the lighthouse. At me. I've been reviewing Elaine's research. She collected accounts from lighthouse keepers around the world spanning centuries. Stories of phantom ships that appeared and disappeared. Vessels that seemed to come from the past or perhaps from some alternate present. Crews that didn't behave like normal sailors. One account from 1922 described a keeper who claimed to have boarded such a vessel after it anchored near his lighthouse. He reported that the crew appeared normal at first but moved like marionettes with tangled strings. They spoke a language he didn't recognize, though he somehow understood their meaning. They showed him something in the hold, something he refused to describe in his report. He returned to his lighthouse, and the ship departed the next day. 3 weeks later, that keeper vanished without a trace. I've tried the radio and phone again, still nothing. The emergency generator is running low on fuel. I have perhaps 2 days of power left. I should conserve it, but I can't let the light go out. I won't. They're watching me. I can feel it. Day 6, I slept fitfully, waking at every sound. The wind, the waves, the creaking of the old tower. Each time I woke, I checked on the ship. It remained in the harbor, dark and silent, until dawn. I was making coffee when I heard it, a ship's horn, deep and resonant, cutting through the morning stillness. One long blast followed by 2 short ones, a signal. I rushed to the lantern room. The ship was where it had been, but now I could see activity on deck, figures moving with purpose, something being lowered over the side. A boat. They were launching a boat. Through the binoculars, I watched as 4 figures climbed down into a small launch. Their movements were stiff, awkward, as if they weren't accustomed to their bodies. The boat began moving toward the island, toward the small dock on the harbor side. I should have barricaded the doors. I should have hidden. Instead, I grabbed Elaine's camera and went down to meet them. The dock is visible from the kitchen window. I watched as their boat approached, moving steadily despite the choppy water. As they drew closer, I could see them more clearly. 3 men and a woman dressed in what looked like merchant marine uniforms, but of an outdated style. Their faces were pale, their expressions blank. They tied up at the dock and stood there, not disembarking, just waiting. Watching the lighthouse, watching for me. I know I should stay inside, but I need answers. I need to know what happened to Elaine. If these people, these things took her, I need to know why, and where I'm going to approach them. I'll bring Elaine's research, her photographs. I'll bring this journal. If I don't return to complete this entry, perhaps someone will find it someday and understand what happened here. Day 6 continued. I am writing this with shaking hands. I approached the dock slowly, camera in hand. The four figures watched me come, their faces expressionless. As I got closer, I realized what had seemed odd about them from a distance. They weren't breathing. Their skin had the bloated, pale look of bodies recovered from water. Their eyes were filmy, unfocused. Their uniforms were rotted, hanging from their frames in sodden tatters. I stopped 20 feet away. "Who are you?" I called. "What do you want?" They didn't speak. The woman, what remained of a woman, raised her arm and pointed back toward their ship. "Did you take my wife?" I demanded. "Did you take Elaine?" At the sound of her name, they reacted. A ripple seemed to pass through them like a current of electricity. Their heads tilted in unison, a gesture so inhuman it made my skin crawl. The woman's mouth opened. What emerged wasn't a voice, but a sound like water rushing through pipes, like waves breaking against rocks. Somehow, within that sound, I heard words. "She came willingly." "Where is she?" I asked. "Is she on your ship?" Another sound, this one like distant thunder over the ocean. "She is between." Between what? Between worlds, between times, between lives. The woman's arm remained extended, pointing. "She waits for you, bring her back," I said. The four figures looked at each other, a silent communication passing between them. Then the woman spoke again. "We cannot, but you can go to her." "How?" "Board our vessel." "We will take you." I'm not a fool. I know what happens in every story when someone accepts such an invitation. But this isn't a story. This is Elaine, my wife, trapped somewhere I can't comprehend. "I need time," I told them. "I need to secure the lighthouse." They nodded in unison, that same mechanical tilt of the head. "One day," the woman said. "We will wait one day." They returned to their boat and rowed back to the ship. I came back to the lighthouse and have spent hours trying to make sense of what happened. I've gone through all of Elaine's research again. I've looked at every photograph, read every note. In her final journal entries, she described dreams of being underwater but able to breathe. Dreams of cities beneath the waves, populated by people who had been lost at sea. Dreams of a place where time moved differently, where death was not an ending but a transformation. She believed the phantom ships were a kind of bridge between our world and that other place. The crews, the things I met today, were messengers, ferrymen of a sort. They couldn't fully exist in our reality, just as we couldn't fully exist in theirs without changing. I think Elaine went with them willingly. She always was braver than me, more willing to leap into the unknown. But did she understand what she was doing? Did she know she might never return, at least not as herself? I have until tomorrow to decide. Do I follow her? Do I report this to authorities who won't believe me? Do I abandon her to whatever fate she's found? The ship's horn just sounded again. One long blast, a reminder they're waiting. Day 7. I slept deeply last night, more deeply than I have since Elaine disappeared. I dreamed of her. We were underwater, surrounded by the skeletal remains of ancient shipwrecks. Fish swam through empty portholes. Seaweed draped over rusted railings, and Elaine moved through it all as if she belonged there, her hair floating around her face, her movements graceful and unhurried. "It's beautiful here," she told me, her voice clear despite the water. "There's so much history, so many stories. All the lost things of the world end up here eventually." "I miss you," I said. "I want you to come home." She smiled sadly. "I can't go back." "But you can join me." She reached for my hand. "Just let go, Richard, let go and sink." I woke gasping, feeling as if water filled my lungs. The dream was so vivid, so real. Was it just my subconscious processing grief, or was it something more, a genuine communication? The ship is still in the harbor. The four figures returned to the dock at dawn and have been standing there for hours, waiting, watching. I've been watching them too, trying to decide what to do. I've written letters to my sister, to the Coast Guard, to the local police. I've explained everything as clearly as I can, included copies of Elaine's research and photographs. I've sealed them in waterproof bags and hidden them in places a thorough search would discover. Perhaps someone will believe, perhaps not. I've also prepared a small bag with essentials, medications, a change of clothes, Elaine's favorite scarf, our wedding photo. If I'm going on a journey, I want to be prepared. Foolish, perhaps, but it gives me a sense of control. The light is still burning. I've made sure it's fully operational, the mechanisms cleaned and oiled. If I go, I don't want any ships, real ships, to be at risk because the light failed. That's the keeper's duty after all. Elaine would want me to remember that. It's nearly noon. I need to make my decision soon. Stay here alone with my grief and these unanswered questions, or go with them into whatever waits beyond our world. I keep thinking about what Elaine wrote about thresholds. Lighthouses mark places where worlds touch, where boundaries blur. They guide ships safely through dangerous waters. But what if they also guide us between realities? What if their real purpose is something we've forgotten or never fully understood? The ship's horn just sounded again, 3 long blasts, a final call. I'm going to them. I need to know, I need to see what Elaine saw, I need to understand why she chose to go. If you're reading this, know that I made this choice freely. Don't search for me, don't risk yourself. Some thresholds, once crossed, don't allow for return journeys. The light will keep burning until the fuel runs out. After that, Blackrock will go dark. Perhaps that's for the best. Some beacons shouldn't remain lit. Some doors should stay closed. Goodbye. Final entry, found by Coast Guard personnel during routine inspection, written in different handwriting. I am leaving this record for whoever finds it. My name was Richard Harmon. I was the keeper of Blackrock Lighthouse. Now I am something else. I boarded their vessel 7 days ago by my reckoning, though time moves differently here. They took me to a place beneath the waves, a realm of shipwrecks and lost souls, a place where the drowned live on in forms both familiar and strange. Elaine was waiting for me. She has changed. We all change when we cross over. The water gets into you, reshapes you from within. Your lungs learn to process it. Your eyes adapt to see in the gloom. Your skin softens, becomes more like theirs. There are cities down here, built from the wreckage of thousands of vessels spanning centuries. Their inhabitants are the lost, sailors, passengers, lighthouse keepers who ventured too far. Some retain their humanity. Others have been here so long they've become something else entirely, something older than mankind. They've shown us wonders. Treasures lost to history, technologies from civilizations that sank beneath the waves before recorded time. Knowledge preserved in libraries of waterproof materials we cannot identify, but there is a price for these marvels. There's always a price. We must serve as they do, as messengers, as ferrymen. We must guide others across the threshold. We must maintain the balance between worlds. That is why I have returned briefly to complete this record and to ensure the light remains extinguished. Blackrock must not guide ships safely anymore. It must serve its older purpose. New vessels will appear offshore in the coming months. Vessels that don't exist in your registries. Do not approach them. Do not attempt communication. If you see lights moving beneath the waves around Blackrock Island, turn away. If you hear singing on nights when the tide is highest, cover your ears. The threshold is widening. More will cross over. It cannot be stopped now. Elaine and I will return to the surface world occasionally. You may see us walking the shore on foggy mornings or standing on the rocks during storms. We may appear human at a distance. We are not. Do not call to us. Do not follow us down to the water's edge. Some doors once opened cannot be closed again. Some lights once extinguished should remain dark. Remember us as we were, not as what we have become. The tide is rising. I must return to the depths. They are waiting for me.